what I was interested in was the moment when a teenager who up until that point has been a child who regards their parents as the arbiters of wisdom and the people who care for them and tell them what to do, actually makes that first step towards independence as an adult, if you like, in their own right. And for most of us, it's quite a small act of rebellion. You know, it might be going to the pub before you're 16. It might be, you know, staying up later than you're allowed to do. But for some people, it's something much bigger. And I was interested in finding something that would really push my characters. I wanted Jessie, my teenager, to commit an act of rebellion which would be abhorrent to her parents and which would appall them, but that they were actually powerless to stop her doing. So I was interested in that moment of transition from being protected to actually being an adventurer in your own right. And I guess in looking at that, I was quite interested in the idea of the way that power passes from one generation to the next. You know, that there's an adult generation who become pragmatic, who lose their ideals, who learn just how to live in the world as it is and to get on with it. And then there's the idealism of the young, which is an incredibly strong force for change. And I was interested in looking at the way that that leaps over the barriers that the parents set up. There's a period in early pregnancy when a woman's immune system is absolutely lowered to allow her body not to reject the sperm, which is of course an alien thing in her system. I mean, and normally our bodies, you know, reject alien things. The body drops its immune system, and I'm saying this in a, you know, scientists will despair and tear their hair when they hear me talking like this. I'm saying this in a very crude way, but basically, as I understand it, the science is that the immune system drops its defences briefly, and at that point, a virus which is latent can kick in. So if we imagine a virus which could be in the whole human race, but will only kick in during early pregnancy, then you've got something that would do what my plot really wanted to happen. I was looking, I guess, really for models for the voice that I would use, and the best model that I found, absolutely the best, is not in fiction at all. It's in tragically factual writing. It's the Diary of Anne Frank. And the Diary of Anne Frank, I mean, obviously it's an extraordinary book, and I read and reread it several times while I was working on Jessie, because her voice is completely real, and it is completely rooted in the detail of everyday life, of course, because you can't contemplate a horror that was going on outside. You can't contemplate that every day. Life isn't like that. You just get on and you worry about what you're going to have for tea, and if you can wash your hair tonight, and if there'll be any, you know, if there'll be anything to drink tomorrow. You worry about the minutiae, because that's how we get through. And also the thing that's fantastic in Anne Frank is that wonderful lightness of touch and lightness of humour in the face of the unspeakable. And so that was something that I really wanted to draw on and to borrow for Jessie. Real life and the kind of courage of dealing with the minute details of real life while something big and very scary is happening. One of the things that I needed for Jessie to make her action interesting and plausible was I needed her to be angry and to seek channels into which she could pour that anger and become an activist. And what happens, of course, is that she tries various things, and in different ways they're all unsuccessful, or she feels that they're not making enough difference. She's frustrated, because frustration plays a huge part in pushing the idealist into action. You know, it's like, well, nothing I'm doing is making any difference. I need to do something bigger, I need to do something more. So I needed that sense of these various dead ends, in a way, of activism, that she's either involved in herself, or that she witnesses other characters being part of. Because if you can find somebody to blame, you can think, or you can maybe pretend to yourself that by punishing them or by eradicating them, you can make the bad thing go away. And so blame, that notion of blame was quite important. Of course, Jessie manages, and I think for for me this was very important. She manages to come through the whole experience, by the end not really blaming anybody. And if you can move beyond blaming somebody, you can move into being able to take action, it seems to me.